Well, hello everyone, and we're back! Yay! Woo! Another great week. Another great week of Fair Life. It's always a good time. So yeah, I say that it's always a good time, and it's great to be talking with you again because, well, I love that, like a lot. But I had a really rough thing happen this weekend. And I know it's going to sound a little strange, but I heard about Olivia de Havilland passing. And I know it's not like I knew her or anything, famous actress from the 30s, 40s, and 50s, but I, yeah, I mean, okay, I'll put it this way. For the last few decades, I've always loved movies. And for the last few decades, my father and I have kind of kept a list of actors who were household names in that golden age of Hollywood before World War II. Yeah, I'm that guy. So we've kind of watched as that's gone, and a lot of people, a lot of people departed back in like 2015, around then, and all of a sudden we were left with Olivia de Havilland, and she was 104 this year. Just an amazing actress and personality, a household name in 1935, if you can believe it. So she passed away on Saturday, and I know it's really odd for somebody like me to feel such an attachment to something that happened long before I was born. I know you can't relate to that, but yeah, that just sort of hit me hard because it's sort of the end of an era. I mean, she was the last surviving member of the cast of Gone with the Wind. I mean, she was one of the leads in that. And, I mean, but she was a household name long before that. She's responsible for making a huge difference with performers. And, yeah, it's been, I don't know how many of you are familiar with it, with the de Havilland decision, but in the late 40s, when her contract was up, they were trying to hold her and extend her contract because she'd refused certain roles that she thought were horrible for her. And she took them to court, the studio, and they sided with her. And it brought about a huge change with performers, actors' rights, which had far-reaching effects with the Screen Actors Guild down the road. I mean, it was kind of the start of the end of the studio system. And she was responsible for that. A woman at that point standing up and saying, no, I'm not going to take that. Quite amazing, an amazing woman. And really sorry to see her go, because that is the end of an era in so many ways. The only, the only actress who even had a little bit of a bit in Hollywood at that point left is maybe June Lockhart, but that's a bit of a stretch because she was 13 when she was in one of her film with her father, 1938, A Christmas Carol. So not exactly a household name then, but I'm grasping at straws now. Yeah, Diana. Yeah, you feel me. Yeah, that was tough. Yeah, she really was, and I mean, and it's not just actors. She really was a badass. It wasn't just actors. She did so much just for performers in general. I mean, a lot of the rights that we have as performers, we would not have if it wasn't for her. At least not in the same way. So, definitely, just a nice moment for Olivia de Havilland. And a little bit of trivia, just because I'm that guy too. She, the move she made when she broke from the studio and took them to court. In the next few years, the first movie she made after that decision was finalized, she won an Oscar, her first Oscar. And then a few years later, she won another one. So definitely a good decision. She wasn't, it wasn't just to bring them to studio. This was what was right for her career too. So yeah. Anyway, so I just had to get that out of my system, but yeah. So anyway, if you get a chance, let me see. Do I have anything? For those of you who may not know, I mean, for Faire, if you've ever seen the 1938 Adventures of Robin Hood, Let me see. I think here we go. There you go. There's a picture of her from The Adventures of Robin Hood, with Errol Flynn, and that was, a really great version of Robin Hood. Very happy and great music and everything. Oh, just nice. So something to check out. So yeah, if you love Faire, a good movie to take a look at. So there you go, Olivia de Havilland. Okay, well, so as far as news goes, I don't think we really have much in the way of news. Not really, not really, not really much going on. Yeah, not really much to talk about, I think. Try to think of something. Hmm. Wait. Oh, right, Gen Con. Almost forgot about that. Gen Con. So, yeah, Gen Con is going online this year. Now, I know this is a bit of a stretch from Fairlife, but let's be honest. Cosplay has been a big part of Faire for the last 10 years. So it's not that much of a stretch. Oh yeah, oh yeah. I try. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love those not so subtle hints. But no, it's not really much of a stretch to go from Faire to a convention, really. And yes, I am doing Gen Con, Carol. It is true. I'm going to be streaming my own shows and streaming a few shows for that I'm going to be a part of, and also, yeah, I mean, there's just a lot. I'll get into it all, but yeah, they're doing an online version of Gen Con, and just like all of the online events that have been going on, it's a huge experiment because Gen Con, I mean, we're talking about around 60,000 people attend, something like that. And trying to do that online is a big challenge. But yeah, it is going to be interesting. This is going to be a big experiment, and Life's Affair is going to be a part of it. So what we're doing is there's a comedy cabaret that I get together with Mark, and we put together every year for at least the last few years I've helped him out with at Gen Con. For Thursday, and what its purpose is to kind of showcase some of the performers that are going to be at Gen Con. It's a great thing. I'm really, it's always been fun, and I am a part of it and play a song in there just like everybody else. But I also MC it and approach it that way. Well, this time I'm not just going to be playing a song and MCing it. I'm also going to be running the tech. I'm going to be doing this and doing the streaming of it, and that's this Thursday. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting. So that is going to be our Thursday show this week, because it would have been a little tough to try to do it, to try to approach them back to back or try to do something else. So, and you will know a few of the performers. April Knight, who was just on the show before and was on the show a good ways, several months ago with the Tolston Troubadours, she's going to be on there, and Mark Gunn is going to be on there, and somebody else who actually we're looking at getting on our show in the future as well, Dan the Bard, and yeah, there'll be a few other groups too that are more convention groups than Faire groups, but there's some crossover. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting show. And so look for that on this Thursday. And also on Friday evening and Saturday afternoon, I'm going to have my solo show, my solo shows, one on each day, and that should be a lot of fun. Yes, there's Lee put up the event there in the chat window. So yes, to go check our Facebook event, or you can also, I'll be having it on the website here in just I'll be putting that up tonight on our website. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll have my solo shows Friday night or Friday evening and Saturday afternoon, and that should be a blast. So you're going to get 2 solo shows from me back to back. Wow. Now, normally you'd say that it would just be on Gen Con, but here's what I did. I made both of my shows essentially free. So Gen Con does charge tickets for a lot of the events they do. The streaming show we're doing Thursday, the Comedy Cabaret, that's always free. And I set mine up to be free because I wanted to share it with everybody and set that up. So yeah, you can, if you want, you can go and check out Gen Con and go through and be a part of that and check out the shows through that. You can also check it out through Facebook or YouTube. So you're going to have some options. Options are good. I do love options. So that should be a blast. And then on Sunday, I believe it's Sunday, there's a Firefly drinking show that I'm going to be helping out Mikey Mason and Mark Gunn with, and I'll be at least a little part of that, but I'll be streaming that as well. So it's going to be pretty crazy. It's going to be crazy. So something to check out. Now I think the Firefly drinking songs show, that is a paid show though, so that you'd have to go into Gen Con and purchase a ticket to go see. Let me think. Yeah, so this weekend's gonna be interesting. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Definitely an interesting week. So yeah, like Lee said, not much going on here. So yeah, I think yeah. Now, as far as new songs go, I think I saw Carol ask about new songs. Maybe I'm working on a couple of things. I might be able to get that in. One of the problems I've been facing with Life's a Faire is it's taken up so much of my time. I haven't had much of a chance to work on music like I've really wanted to, at least my own music, I should say. So I'm trying to work on that now, and this last weekend I did work on it a bit. I'm hoping I can get at least one new song in. If I can, I will. If I can't, well, we'll see. I know, right? We never have anything going on, Lee. We're so lazy. All we do is just sit here in front of the camera and type on our keyboards and just banter and talk back and forth. That's what we do. It's a boring life. Oh my. But yeah, it's not a problem. I really think we're starting to get on a good schedule now and get ahead of everything. So many exciting things coming out. For those of you that I'm pretty sure most all of you saw our show on Thursday where we talked about a lot of cool stuff that was happening and coming up. So if you didn't, go check that out, because that was Lee and I both talking. And so you're going to get to see a little of our dynamic and our brainstorming session. You know, I know she's not exactly being literal with the cracking the whip comment, but it almost feels like she is. I'll put it that way. Yeah. She has, yeah. And it's a good thing. I have needed to. And, I don't really regret it much, because I have done so much good work, and I'm so proud of what we've been able to accomplish just in these 4 months. I mean, with the level of quality we've been able to maintain more than anything, because I see so many people online having problems with their streams and serious issues. And while we have had an occasional issue, it's been very rare, and I'm proud of that. I think we've approached it from a very strong basis and built on it gradually month to month, to where we've got a really solid setup. And currently, we are working on the little things around the edge, just getting some of the organization together and optimized. And I think that's really what we've got left, with that, along with more production and getting more events going and really getting those out. Yeah, a lot of this now is just talking with people. It's weird. how many meetings I've had. During all of this, the last 4 months of solitude that a lot of people have felt, I have been talking with people daily, and it's been, I almost feel like I've been more social and talking with more people these last 4 months than I ever did before. It's so strange. Right, right. Yeah, she is totally right that we were working on our new video submission guidelines up to about 30 seconds before I hit the live button. That is very true. I was prepping stuff and getting the streams, getting everything, crossing the streams. I love saying that. So that it was ready while we were talking about it. And yeah, I mean, and that's kind of what we're working on now, just tightening up our organization. And in some ways, it's a lot easier because there's only two of us, really. Although that's starting to expand. We're getting some people in to help out, and some of you are actually watching who are in that process of jumping in, and I really appreciate it. It is our digital team, digital team unite. It is going to be great. Because it's surprising how just doing a small bit really makes a difference for us. With two of us trying to do everything, oh my gosh, it's crazy. Just doing a little thing here and there, the difference, I can't even begin. Yeah, I know. I'm so excited too, Lee, about the members of our digital team. And yeah, that will make it. It's just, you see, it's going to help us out for sure. It's certainly going to take a lot of the pressure off of us to get the digital team together. But it's also, more importantly, I think, going to make the show so much better. Because we've got people that are just creative, wonderful people who are going to add so much to it. And that's going to be good. Good stuff. So yeah. So I guess that is a lot of the current news. The following week, don't worry, we're going back to some shows, and I think we're going to have some exciting shows coming up. People you haven't seen. I'm also really proud that for the most part, we really haven't repeated anyone. April's the closest we've come to, and she was just in a group first, and then she did a solo thing. So I don't know if I count that. It's a totally different sound and different music. So I like that we haven't had to repeat any performers. We've been able to just keep it fresh, and we will start doing that. But I really want to keep trying to bring y'all performers that you haven't seen, expose you to new sounds, new fairs, new things as much as possible, because that was always one of the main purposes for me with Life's a Fair, because I think for a lot of people, Ren fairs are very regional. You don't normally cross the country to go to different Ren fairs, unless you're Jan. Yes, I know. Before you say it, I know. Unless you're Jan. But generally, you don't do that. And there are a lot of performers and groups out there that you never get to see because of that. Because often they're fairly regional too. So yeah, hopefully we can hopefully that we can bring you some more interesting stuff. And that is a very, very good point, Lee. She says that she fully believes that everyone has valuable skills. Some people just don't realize that yet. And that's true. Just an interest in music and fairs in general shows that you at least have a level of creativity or an appreciation for creativity. And that's a great start right there. Everybody has skills. Everybody. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe, I wasn't really thinking about this, Lee, but maybe this is a great opportunity to just inspire some people to develop some skills they didn't even know they had. I thought it'd just be a lot of fun and a great experience for everybody, but it could be a lot more rewarding than that for some people. That could be nice. Mm. And yeah, and Diana, yeah, totally. That's always been my thing. I've tried to bring some new people that that you haven't seen before. That's always been a goal, and I'm working on that more now. Early on, I started going with people that I either knew or knew of, and knew I could uh, already had that relationship developed where I could say, "Hey, would you be interested in doing this?" And it was less like a cold call, but now it's more like branching out and asking people, "Hey, do you have any recommendations on people I might not be familiar with?" And it's really led to some interesting opportunities. So it's going to be interesting. You're going to hear some cool stuff. And Carol's never been to a fair yet. Nice. Um, wow. It's hard to imagine not never having gone to a fair. Wow. Uh, my life without fair. Well, I'm glad we're here for you, Carol, because uh, life without fair just doesn't sound appetizing to me. So if we can do that for you just a little bit, then I am happy to be part of that. Oh man. Oh, so yeah, it's going to be a crazy week. Now, because last week what happened was Lee and I did on Thursday, we just got on and talked instead of doing the standard show. We were the show. The podcast was very interesting this week. I realized, you know, uh, how I approached it was I essentially interviewed myself. So that's going to be interesting. Um, it's definitely different. So yes, it is. I believe it's on Patreon already, the podcast, and it will be public tomorrow. I will be bringing that up and getting that set up for tomorrow. But yeah, it is. It was interesting trying to interview myself. That was definitely different. I essentially just asked the same questions I normally ask guests who come onto the podcast, and just answer them. And surprisingly, like I always do, I let the guest talk way too much, and it ended up being a lot longer than I intended. Yes, God, do they talk. I tried to, reel them in as much as I could, but you can only do so much. Sometimes you just have to let it go. But I did cut it off, and finally at the end, so it's not horrendously long. It's not Bedlam Bards long. That's the definition of, oh my gosh, that's long. Not by a long shot, so it's okay. But it should be interesting. I think I added a few things in there about how I got into music and how I got into Ren Fair that I don't think I've ever said before. So that should be interesting. Yeah, right? The Monday nap show, Kristen? I like this idea. This is not bad. This is a good idea. Yeah, totally. Um, Although, it would it be kind of weird if people just, watched me sleep? Isn't that a little creepy, maybe? I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I look angelic when I sleep? Okay, now I'm really paranoid. This is getting bad. Hmm. Hmm. Just kind of a. Hmm. That's the closest I got. I don't know. Uh, well, that's true. It was not a recorder. Mm. Yeah. Believe it or not, the first instrument I played, you've never seen me play before. I don't own it. It would be ridiculously expensive for me to try to have that instrument handy. Mm. But yes. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting podcast. I think some good stuff. I tried to dwell a little bit more on the suggestions for people who had never been to fair before and performers. I don't know. Hopefully it was good. It's very interesting being in the other chair for a change and seeing what how everybody else felt. Normally, I ask a question and I let people talk, and occasionally throw in some side questions based on what they say. So it was strange not doing that. Uh, yes, Drew. XCal was my first fair. I mean, first fair I played at, I should say. Not the first fair I ever went to. First fair I ever went to was TRF, I think in Texas Renaissance Festival in around 1990. So yeah, still back in the David Casey entertainment director days. But it was, yeah, I spent the 90s going to the Texas Renaissance Festival. And then XCal was the first fair I performed at. And I had only been playing music uh, with Mark professionally for like a month before we started playing. That was strange. That was strange. I do talk about that a little bit. And it is, yeah. You know, Janine, I actually thought about that. I thought about doing the whole. I think I even mentioned it at the beginning of the podcast, if I remember correctly, that I thought about doing the whole multiple personality thing where I'm just like, so, Andrew, what do you think here about this? How did you first get into music? Well, Andrew, it's a good question. It's hard to answer. Do you want me to start really at the very beginning, you know, when I first listened to music, or when I started playing music? Oh, no, start at the very beginning. That'd be really good. I'd like to hear that. Well, okay, yeah, I could talk about that. Yeah, it's very interesting. First, and I thought about doing that, but I thought the joke was there, and you'd get it, and it might be amusing the first time, maybe the second, but then it would just get annoying. I just didn't see it as working. Yeah. Uh, oh, really? 90 was. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I was a patron, so I didn't really talk with the entertainment director. But after that, I think I didn't go back after 90 until 92. So, and then I, yeah. So for most of it, it was the David Casey years. Yeah, but yeah, I totally forgot that. That's yeah, I think I made the right choice there. It would not have worked. So I just really thought out loud is really the thing. Very different because I never do that. Not at all. But oh, they have names, but it's not quite the same. Sometimes it's just by their location, like the Oklahoma Renaissance Fair, or the Tennessee Renaissance Fair, or that kind of thing. Sometimes it's based on city, like the Kansas City Renaissance Festival, St. Louis Renaissance Festival. You get things like that. But so yeah, it's not all like it's not all cute names like Gen Con, Dragon Con, Comic Con, and all of that kind of thing. It's usually based on place. Now, sometimes you get some unique names like so that they're more names that are more general. Like I remember this one doesn't exist anymore, but the West Texas Renaissance Festival, or you get Mid Missouri Renaissance Festival. But sometimes you do get some interesting ones, like we mentioned Excalibur, that is Excalibur Fantasy Fair, and then there was the King Arthur Pendragon Fair. I mean, so you'll get ones that have an interesting name, but I think a lot of them are based on the concept of with their location. That's kind of how it works. Yeah, Sherwood Forest Fair is another good example. That's now that Sherwood Forest Fair is so descriptive because you walk in it and it just feels like a forest. I mean, the really good trees and everything. They had that was aptly named. I mean, I think the only fair I've been to that came close to that type of feeling was maybe Hawkwood, where it's very forest-like. Four Winds is another interesting example. There's also Two Rivers out in southern Arizona. untrue. Oh, and there, the Kristen, yeah, there is a difference between the a medieval fair and a Renaissance fair. That is true. Although, like what I said about cosplay and everything being a part of fair now, like it really didn't chiefly used to be. Um, yeah, I mean, the difference between medieval and Renaissance fairs is mainly the scenario that the cast runs and how the cast dresses. Everything else is a little more gray. And yeah, for Damaris, Sherwood is the first festival she ever worked, and it's kind of like with Excalibur for me, which is not very far from where Sherwood was, or was where Sherwood is. Yes, it's yeah, it's an interesting location, and doing it in the early spring brings an interesting feel. And the medieval fair in Norman, yeah, Doctor Who blog. Norman, it's a college town, so you're going to get a different group of people, and it's a totally different feel than a regular fair. Norman is, as long as I can remember, Norman has always been described as very different for a Ren fair. Um, so yeah, there is no, honestly, to be fair, there is no this is what a fair is. I don't. This is necessarily how it should be. I think now the range of what constitutes a Renaissance fair is wider by far than it ever has been. Really. I mean, you get sometimes it feels like you're at a rock concert. And on YouTube, Andrew is saying that please don't refer to Sherwood in the past tense. That was a mistake. I was thinking of Excalibur, and I was crossing my fairs, so that was totally me. Don't worry. And I like the pun, Andrew. That was funny. Yeah, he said that he couldn't handle Sherwood being referred to in the past tense. I completely understand. Whew. But yeah, fairs, they're just such a wide range of opportunities. Sometimes they feel like a rock concert. Sometimes they feel like a folk festival. And that's just for the music. When you get to the other stuff, it kind of gets, sometimes it feels like a sci-fi convention. Like 25 years ago, the classic joke was that occasionally you'd see somebody dressed up in Starfleet uniforms from Star Trek with tricorders, pretending that they landed on a new planet with a primitive society. So you kind of get that. And now it's just like that's almost the norm. It's kind of strange. Very strange, really. So, yeah. Yeah, and sometimes they do host music festivals on Ren Fair sites. That is true. Yeah, I mean, it's really strange now compared to how I think of Fair from 25 years ago. Very strange, really. I don't know. Drew might be able to put an opinion in there because I know he remembers old school Texas Renaissance Festival, and it has changed so much. It's expanded. Uh, the Yeah, I mean, it is a lot more. It's sort of like trying to put in a lot of stuff that they had from conventions, like Dragon Con or Gen Con or Comic Con, and put that in with Fair, and then music festivals, and it's almost like a hodgepodge. And that's, I don't know. I mean, there's pros and cons to that. No pun intended with the con statement. Hmm. But, well, yes, and Drew's right. Made it a far more serious business. Really? Okay, now that was before me. If you start getting into the 80s and 70s, I imagine that was, from what I've heard, it certainly was a lot more less of a serious thing as well. I mean, but a lot fewer people too. So maybe that was part of it. I don't know. But yeah, it is. It has changed a lot. I really don't intend every pun that comes out of my mouth. Usually I just say something and I realize that's a pun right when I say it. And then I make a reference to it. And it was strange. Maybe it's just my subconscious being playful. It's gonna happen. Okay. Okay. Drew started in 91. Yeah, that's I was going I didn't go to TRF in 91. I did, I believe, in 92, 93, 94, around then. Uh I think 95, 90. There was at least 1 year in there I missed, but I would go almost every year. I was in Austin, so I'd take the drive out with usually some friends, and we'd make a day of it. And it was a lot of fun, a lot of fun. And my favorite thing about Faire is that everybody has their thing. For me, I love music. I would go see a lot of the music shows, all the music shops, and I'd go see some other stuff with the friends I'd go to Faire with, but I was obsessed with the music mostly, and I think that's understandable under the circumstances. So, but for other people, it's other things, and I think that's fine. It's good that there's variety because it can appeal to a large group of people, a wide variety of people. Aw, early 80s. So, Jan, what is the difference between, I mean, how much different is it now at TRF than before? I mean, I know size-wise, it's ridiculous. But from your perspective, what do you think the main differences are? I'd really be curious to hear that, Jan. So yeah, and it can be strictly relating to the music if that's more your thing too. Uh, Whatever your perspective is. Oh, Chris, an ED is an entertainment director. That's the person in charge of entertainment at the fair or convention. So yeah. Um, yeah, sometimes the entertainment director is also the cast director, sometimes not. It just depends on the size of the fair and what they do. And Kristen says giant birds and giant pretzels. That's what she loves about fair. Okay, okay. Now, for those of us who know Kristen, we know that at least part of it is about dressing up for her. Let's be honest here. Which she does very well. And Jan says more crowded and it feels like less music. Don't like it as well these days. Yeah, I mean, with more crowds, it's even if they had the same amount of music, it would feel like less. So yeah, I totally understand. I've also noticed a transition to more larger stages, and some fairs have started to ditch as many of the smaller stages in favor of just trying to do large stages to appeal to be able to entertain more people. And the small solo musician, they kind of get shafted because of that. It's hard for a solo performer to handle a large stage and a large audience on their own without a phenomenal setup of a good mic setup and a really good setup. So if you have that, it could be done. It could be done with some work, but generally fairs aren't going to take that risk. They're going to go after large groups and loud noise. Yeah. And yes, Jeremy's right. Who needs a stage? Well, some fairs you almost do. It's so crowded that you can't really. It's hard to actually busk. Sherwood, honestly, for me, is not a good busking fair. It can be done, but it's not easy. It's not easy at all. It's the problem is there's no choke points. It's all just an open fair. It's a forest, and they just have booths around the edge and different booths sporadically throughout. And if you want to get from point A to point D, you have an almost infinite number of ways to go. I mean, there is a path, but there's like 5 paths, and then you can just walk over the grass and get there. So it's kind of different. And Kristen's right. She surely just should wear the elf ears in real life and just normal life. Why not? Why not? Who's to give you flack? I mean, at the very least, honestly, with the right mask, it would look pretty cool. Just saying. Well, I hope Lee's right that there has been a move to add some smaller stages. I think hopefully that's true. Hopefully that's true. Uh, and I don't know. I mean, with this year and everybody having a year off, fair-wise, it's kind of the effect that's going to have on Faire and how Faire is approached by management and by patrons. It's going to be interesting. I think it could be a huge dynamic shift when everything starts up again. So we'll see. We will see. Could be for the better, could be for the worse. And Jeremy's right. You can pull that off at mealtime, but that's a few hours out of the day. So what do you do for the rest? And that's kind of the tough part. So yeah, that's it. It can be done. You just really have to work at it. That's my point. Where other fairs, you can go to the side of the road and pretty much just stay there all day, and you'll do fine. It's a choke point at that place. Everybody will walk by there at least once during the day, and at some fairs you just can't. There's no place like that. Yeah, and Lee's right. It's definitely going to be interesting either way. Totally. Yeah, Andrew on YouTube is saying that the smaller stages are more personal. The large stages are needed for some shows, but the increase in mics means you can have 2 big stages competing, and that's true. I remember the last time I was at Arizona, and I remember being so shocked the way that they laid it out. It was like, I mean, Arizona is like a donut, where you just kind of go in and then you just kind of can go one way or the other in a circle, kind of. And, you go and you hear this mic'd show in the distance, and you walk towards it and you go past it. And then right when you where you can't hear it anymore, you're just like, okay, I cannot hear it anymore. Boom, you suddenly start hearing the next stage. And there are very few places where you don't hear the music, the mic'd music, or stage shows or whatever, somebody talking from those stages. It's a very odd experience. I mean, but at least they have tried to set it up where it didn't compete with each other. So I'll give them a lot of credit there, because there are fairs that have not done that, where the sound is so disproportionate, and a lot of different places suffer. So it can be tough. But yeah, I totally agree. Smaller stages are more personal. I mean, the larger the stage, the more of a barrier I think you have between you and your audience. And that's, I don't know. I mean, for some performers, they like that, because it can be very intimidating to be on stage in front of people. And to have a bit of a barrier makes it a lot easier for some people. I've never been that guy. Well, not since the first year, anyway. I like having more of a. I always have looked at it as very much a personal one-on-one relationship with an audience. I don't know how else to look at it, honestly. To be very disconnected, it's tough. And Drew, yes, your stage is yeah. And it's a good way to go. I mean, it does open up a lot of possibilities to go that route. Now Vince, I'm going to say he has a bit of an advantage when it comes to busking. Um, that is uh, because of his instrument, the hammered dulcimer. It is a two-pronged attack, or a two-hammered attack. Uh, it it just looks cool. A lot of people will go to a fair and they've never seen one before. To them, it's like, what is that? I got to know what that is. And then it also has such an amazing sound. So people can hear it and not even see it and be like, what is that? That sounds awesome. I've got to find out. So you can draw people in from the visual and the wherever you are. For others, I mean, if you're just playing guitar or something like that and singing, you've got to draw them in by you've really got to work at it more and draw them in by the quality of the song or make a connection with them based on what you're doing or whatever. And it is a little bit more difficult. So yeah, I mean, I've always been a little envious of Vince because of that. And then I watch him try to carry that huge, enormous hammered dulcimer around Faire, and I'm like, no, no, I'm good. And yeah, oh, Vince is always professional. That's the other thing. I mean, it's not just he doesn't rest on his laurels. I will totally agree with that. He doesn't just say, "Oh, my instrument's cool, so I'm going to settle for that." No, he is very good at it, and he has tweaked his show consistently over the years to be very good at it. So I'll give him a lot of credit. Oh, right. And yeah, on YouTube, Andrew's commenting about last year at Sherwood when Opal and Jade were at the pub competing with Tartanic at a nearby stage, and that's a problem. And part of that is stage placement, and part of it is being plugged in and how sound is run. I think it can be a rough thing. Oh yeah, soprano recorder for life, dude. Yeah, totally. I mean, it is. Oh yeah, it's soprano recorder all the way, all the way. Yes. Oh yeah, I've always got it handy because it is just. Oh, it's so. I love the fact that it's portable, and most of my competition are fifth graders, so it makes it a lot easier. Yes, and Damaris is talking about that she ran into a lot of odd instruments before coming to Fair. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people do. I think it was more common maybe before too, because I mean now you have the internet, so you can go looking for it, but you have to go looking for it. Uh, so yeah, I mean it is. You are lucky to have seen so many rare instruments. Yeah, yeah. Vince. Now, when Vince first started, he would sing. He would do stage shows and get up there and play the hammered dulcimer. I remember this when I first met him back in 2001 at Kansas City. He would be on stage playing and singing, and he quickly discovered that people wanted to find out about the instrument. They were like, "What is that? How does it work? You know, how do you play that?" Um, and that was so he just stopped singing. He just went, no, not going to do that anymore. And he started getting comfortable talking while he played. And he's very good at it. And Lee's right in several languages because he travels to Europe every year. And he is amazing at that. And totally the right move. Totally the right move. Oh, and Janine's talking about seeing a theremin. Uh, Goat toenails? Okay, that I don't know. Maybe Damaris is familiar with that one, but the theremin, yeah, that's the sci-fi type instrument where you can move your hand and it tells the difference in plays. And Carol, thank you for the comment on the recorder player. I wish that was true. I'm glad it's not because it keeps me practicing. There's always somebody a little better. Definitely. You get some people who've been early music performers at universities, and you'll get professors that have been teaching and are in early music ensembles that practice Telemon with a group of recorder players and play it year after year, and they're in their 60s now, and they're phenomenal. It's crazy. I'll see some of them occasionally, and I'll be like, okay, I got to work more, which is good because it keeps me humble. And that is an invaluable commodity when you're a performer. You always stay humble. But I appreciate the compliment. Uh, I do love playing the recorder. Yeah, Thurman, it has. Damaris is talking about that she's not fond of it. Um, it's it has a unique sound, and I think there are times when it's warranted. But I think for general use, not so much. I'll agree with you. Uh, it is a little difficult, Janine, to play a tune on the Thurman, but it's not. It's practice. I mean, it's placement. Um, just like just like knowing how much air to breathe, you know exactly where to put your hand when you move it, and that's really it. It's just placement you get very used to. Um, and so you can get it, I'd say this is one of those things. It's an easy instrument to play. It's a difficult instrument to play well. That's how I'd phrase it, Janine. Well, it's just not a Monday if you're not discussing goat toenails. That's what I always say. So there you go. And that, is one of the great things about doing some online performances, because when you have all of these competing acts at Faire, and sometimes it can be a little rough. With here you kind of get to concentrate on the group, and that's kind of nice. So hopefully we'll uh, get to explore that a bit more in the future. Well, I think yeah, we're getting close to an hour. This hour just flew by. I wasn't really expecting this to be a long show. We kind of got into conversations, huh? But yeah, I think yeah, I think we talked about everything I really needed to. I think was there anything else I missed, Lee? I think we covered everything important. I mean, we got the Gen Con, and uh, talked about a lot of stuff coming up, and yeah, I think so. I think we covered everything. She'll correct me if I'm wrong. She always does, and I think uh, I think that was pretty good. Lee and her magical goats. That should be funny. I totally see that happening in the future. Now that I think about it, is there any goat Lee has would probably be a magical goat in some way. Yeah, I think Lee's right. The big things are Gen Con, the digital team, and I think we covered that. And if I need to reiterate one more time, for those watching, anybody else who wants to jump in and join our digital team and get involved and do some cool stuff on Life's Affair, make a big difference, and work on some cool projects, please let us know. Yeah, because Lee is kind of magical. So chickens are going to magically appear first. Okay. So where do the magic beans come in there? Is it like in between the chickens and the goats, or do they come after the goats? Because I know there has to be magic beans somewhere. I'm just saying. It just seems like that's where we go. A Capricorn. Of course she is a Capricorn. That needs to be our new catchphrase, I think, Lee. It's kind of like Winamp with their little free intro every time you would install that piece of software back in the day was always funny. We need to have something like that that says, "Life's a fair, where you always get your magic goat." That's true. Lee does love her gardens. Oh, a cow must precede magic beans. That is a valid point. Totally valid. Okay, so we have to go from magic goat to, ooh, can we go non-magical cow and then magic beans? Or can it be a magic cow? It's a good question. Huh. Huh. It's true. Okay, okay. It's good that we figured this out. This is a good talk, good talk. Okay. Well, I think we're getting close to an hour, so I think probably should call it here. I hope you've had fun this evening. I certainly have. And I hope you like my new lights. I've added a few things to the room and trying to make the ambiance a little better, and yeah, just keep upping the quality of the video. Little experiments here and there. Oh, milky white, going straight to Into the Woods. Nice. Happy Gary Gygax Day to you too. Well, I think I'm going to call it there. Thanks again for joining me, and I guess I will see you on Thursday. Check out the podcast tomorrow if you're not already on our Patreon. And yeah, it should be fun. And see you on Thursday. Should be a blast. So take care, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.